Western North Carolina businesses, they need your financial support now more than ever in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. This month, Darby Communications, based in Asheville, North Carolina, is donating its ad space here on the Rock Fight to help other outdoor businesses in Western North Carolina get back on their feet. The outdoor industry is a major contributor to Western North Carolina's economy, and Darby Communications is asking people to donate to the Outdoor Business Alliance Hurricane Helene Relief Fund, which supports outdoor industry businesses in their recovery and supports their staff as they rebuild in the wake of the storm's devastation. Now is the time to help the outdoor community help build back what we lost in Western North Carolina. Head to outdoorbusinessalliance.org and click Donate Today to get started.
Rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight, rock fight.
Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, he's going to pay tribute to Ricky Henderson by speaking only in the third person for this whole podcast. It's Justin Hausman!
Oh, Ricky. I had to look up the cause of death. Pneumonia.
What was it?
Pneumonia.
No. Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough. 65?
I mean, I get the feeling Ricky didn't treat his body great. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. But there was some stuff out there about how he had asthma for a long time and had like breathing issues for a long time. He had some, like his septum was kind of effed up. Which, you know, I don't know. Sometimes that means something about.
Well, he was
Things
big time money making athlete in the
that
80s.
you've enjoyed in your nose area. So who knows what was going on with his lungs and stuff like that. But yeah, apparently it has some kind of complication from pneumonia.
Well, we're burying the lead by talking about Ricky Henderson. It's Merry Christmas, buddy. It's Christmas Day.
Yay.
And Happy Hanukkah. It's day one of Hanukkah.
That's also day one of Hanukkah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, imagine
So,
God, I would be lost if like Christmas was on a different day every year.
Yeah. What? How does Hanukkah? I mean, it's
Dude,
same
I
with
don't know.
Easter. I
Same
don't
with
understand how
Easter,
any of
yeah.
these holidays move around.
I assume it has something to do with lunar cycles. I honestly don't know. Or like the fourth Thursday after the sixth Wednesday that's come after like a certain kind of moon. I mean, something like that. I don't know.
I was trying to explain like my kids like about like why, you know, the date for Thanksgiving and like that was or even like the time change. Like what do we do there? Like all that stuff's like pretty easy when you really break it down. Like this, like, yeah, Hanukkah. Sometimes it's November 30th. Other times, December 25th.
My kids every day since Friday have woken up and been like, is today Christmas break? And we were like, yeah, you don't have to go to school. I mean, it's so funny because even on like a Saturday, my older daughter, my 5-year-old, will wake up and she'd be like, do I go to school today? I'm like, no, there's no school. She's like, yes. But like, they don't really, it's like imagine that. They wake up and they have like just the joy of just waking up and you're like, I don't know.
Yep. Well, you're getting into prime Christmas age now too. I mean,
they're
5
pretty
and
fired
3,
up.
forget about it.
They're so fired up. You know, yeah, I'll talk about what I think is a brilliant strategy for me in my parting shot. But yeah, they're pretty fired up. I mean, it's been like my wife doesn't really want them to watch TV ever, but I don't really mind so much. And especially this week, they're out of school and it's like raining constantly, so it's going to be like nonstop Christmas movies. But our rule has basically been all for the last like week or two. If you're going to watch something, that's fine, but it has to be Christmas like oriented for some reason.
Yeah, there you go. You guys haven't fallen victim yet to the Elf on the Shelf yet, right? Have
No,
you? Elf
but
on
we've
the
been
Shelf?
watching. So this morning, my 3-year-old's watching. There's like cartoons of it, and she's like
Oh,
watching
no.
them. But I don't
Really?
think. But it's not like you'd have to be an adult to understand like what's going on, and to know that that's a thing you could also do. So
Okay.
they're mostly like the 3-year-old is at the age where she's demanding things that don't exist for Christmas, like this like magical fox that she sees in a cartoon. Like I want that for Christmas. So and the 5-year-old just loves the whole concept. I don't think like she's stoked to get presents, but she just loves the lights, loves everything about it. So I'm sure tonight, if it's not raining too hard, although it's supposed to dump, we might do the little drive around, look at like
look at everybody's
decorations around
lights.
town.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Anyway.
today on the show, our Christmas present to you, the Rock Fight listeners, we're going to talk about a couple of stories that come out of the outdoor industry and community. But most importantly today, our friend Jessica Turner from the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable sat down with Justin and I to talk about probably the biggest story to come out last week, which was the passage of the Explore Act. Jess has been on the show a few times before to talk about this important piece of legislation. And as soon as it passed, actually, she and her team reached back out, and you can hear our conversation in just a few minutes. We actually just wrapped up that conversation with her. It's a good one. Stick around for that. But before we get to Jess and our other stuff, please be sure to follow. Please follow it's our Christmas present. It's Christmas and Hanukkah.
That's your Christmas to us.
Right? Yeah. Just click follow wherever you're listening. Right now, you're listening to the Rock Fight, like in some corner of your house because you don't want to hang out with your family or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Follow the Rock Fight. That's a great Christmas present.
Mm-hmm.
And also leave us a 5-star rating. And also, if you want to really extend the Christmas joy or the Hanukkah, love here, subscribe to our newsletter. Go to rockfight.co. Click join the mailing list. You're going to get original content you can't find anywhere else. Justin's got a couple things in there. I'm writing things for there. There's like a lot of good Rockfight stuff that's in the newsletter every single week. Comes out on Tuesday. And,
Well, they occasionally see graphic photos in the newsletter.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, probably our best newsletter engagement maybe of all time came last week when we had horrible photos of Justin's leg.
Excellent. People are so predictable. Oh, a graphic warning image. We should put a graphic image warning on every single newsletter, and just because people will click on it.
It would work on me.
Totally. Yeah.
What's under that fuzzy picture?
Like nothing works. I don't click anything faster than I do when like Instagram is like, "Are you sure you want to see this?" Yes.
Yes.
Often the answer was no, but I can't get to that point. Yeah. Like
I wasn't before, but I am now.
Yeah. Following the like skateboard slam accounts on Instagram is you get to see some things you wish you hadn't, but
right.
Anyway.
Well, Justin, where else can our listeners follow along on the old socials and whatnot?
Speaking of Instagram, Rockfight Co. at Rockfight Co. That's where we are over there on Instagram and TikTok. Although, is TikTok still going to exist? What's happening?
Well, maybe.
Right? Like, I mean, they didn't Congress did the thing, right? They were like, okay. Well, for now, while it exists, we're over there as well. And you can also see videos of our parting shots on YouTube, where we are at Rockfight. And then also, we love to hear from you. It really does bring us joy, whether it's Christmas or not. So you can email all your feedback to myrockfight@gmail.com. Questions, suggestions, flattery, any of that sort of stuff.
It's all welcome.
Most of it. Well, it depends on what they say.
Well, we got a couple stories we want to get through kind of leading up to our conversation with Jessica. And the first one came out in backpacker.com earlier this week in an article by Adam Roy. It's about two Nevada hikers who went out for a 16-mile day hike up the 11,916-foot Mount Charleston. Mount Charleston's about 40 miles away from Las Vegas. And they started around 8 a.m. They were planning to finish up around 5 in the afternoon. And things took a turn for the worse later in the day.
That's dark, by the way.
What's that?
Like 5 p.m. is dark there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just
this time
FYI.
of year. Yeah.
It
wasn't in June.
Yeah. You don't usually want to finish hikes like this. You don't, well, you'll see why in a minute, but like, you would normally, with the amount of preparation they had, you'd want to be finishing up, with a few hours of daylight left.
Yeah, 16 miles. I didn't check the vert on this. Not a short hike. I mean, that's a burly day.
Yeah, it's a big day.
But so they wanted to finish up, and the weather, they hit the summit, I guess, around 2 p.m., and then on their descent, the weather turned cold, and the snow started to fall. And this was probably mostly because one of the hikers decided to do this trip in a pair of Crocs, and their companion had on boots. So in addition to descending icy and slippery terrain in shoes that were made from foam, the temps dropped below 20 degrees in the afternoon on their way down. It caused their water bottle to freeze up. Apparently they made it down by splitting their shoes, so each hiker had a boot and a Croc. And they eventually ran into search and rescue personnel who were out looking for them because it sounds like there were some folks who were expecting to hear from them and did not, so they called it in.
That worked. That's good. They did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like they would have made it probably on their own, even if they hadn't run into search and rescue. But Backpacker was pretty nice to these folks. I think they even said, like, we don't want to just sort of like bag on people for the sake of doing it, basically. But, they smartly pointed out the gear they should have had. I'm not going to go in on the Crocs in terms of
you
it
hate
being,
Crocs anyway. I mean,
I do.
Yeah.
But I also there's people who run like ultra marathons in 5 fingers and people who run marathons in Crocs. So I mean, look, if you can hike in Crocs, like I'm not okay. But so you can. I know that you can accomplish a lot in footwear that you wouldn't think that you could, right? So it's not just
we talk about
have
this all the
boots.
time, but not usually Crocs.
Right. But heading up near a 12,000-foot mountain in December, I assume it was December. It was not that long ago. I mean, even if it was November, I mean, it's going to be cold and icy. And dude, if you're wearing a pair of shoes with holes in it, that's kind of a moronic move. I'm sorry, it just is.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course it is. I'm trying to decide whether or not I feel like like Backpacker or any other outlet has a responsibility to like remind you not to do this sort of thing. I mean, if you're reading Backpacker, you're probably not going to do this, right? You're probably not going to be hiking in Crocs.
Yeah, you've already advanced past this phase of your outdoorsy life.
So,
yeah.
but like the real question is like, what was the reason? Like, did they do this on? Like, was this the point? Like, I could do this shit in Crocs. Like, there has to be,
Good
right?
point.
Like, especially if the other person had hiking boots and they thought to like tell somebody where they were going to go and when they should be back. Like, it almost sounds like this was like a bet. or
That's a
something
good
weird
point.
like that. I don't know. And like, does Crocs make? It just says Crocs. Now, do they Crocs makes shoes, right? Like, I'm assuming these are just the standard Crocs.
I believe it was just the standard Crocs. They do make reference that there are Crocs that have like some burlier lugs on their outsoles
Yeah.
and things like that, but it was not them apparently.
Well, even
those
still,
are not those.
Imagine how like it must feel like a bar of soap because that foam would freeze. I would think, or get
I
really
would think
hard,
so, or get stiff. Yeah,
I can't even imagine that. I'm also not surprised because in about 5 days I will be in Yosemite Valley, and it looks like there'll be snow. And I have done so many like of these hikes leading out of the valley where I'm in like pretty burly like winter boots from like Oboz or something, you know, with like a soft pliable like lug that's like meant for gripping ice. Occasionally I'll use like yak tracks. Because my wife actually the first time, so we go to Yosemite every year in the wintertime. It's their long family tradition, and my wife and I have been together now for almost 20 years. So I've gone, you know, I don't know, 16, 17 years, something like that. First year I went, like this is like, you know, I don't know how long we've been dating, but you know, I don't know her family that well, you know, and like it's a big deal. She's bringing a boyfriend to Yosemite for like 4 days. We always stay in the Yosemite Lodge, which is a wonderfully quaint place. Anyway. First day we're there, my wife slips on a patch of ice and just shatters her ankle. Like really bad. Like really, really bad. And we'd only been there for, I don't think we'd even spent the night. Maybe one night. And like,
you're just the boyfriend at this point?
You're not like, yeah.
You could have left.
What was wild? Yeah, right. But the wild part is, I remember like she didn't come back to the room like she was supposed to. I'm like, I wonder what's going on. And so like I started to walk over to the cafeteria or wherever. If you know Yosemite Lodge, there's like a central area where there's a bunch of stuff. And I started to walk over there and I see this crowd of people looking at someone. I'm like,
Oh no.
And there's my wife in the middle laughing, just like embarrassed laughing. And I'm like, and they're like, they think I broke my ankle. I'm like, that's when I learned about her ridiculous pain tolerance. But yeah, we had to like drive her out. She had to have surgery. It was like a huge issue. But because she slipped on ice wearing hiking boots. So point of that story is that like I usually bring like yak tracks with me now if I think I might be hiking on anything that's slippery. But I will see people on these hikes in like vans. Like I'll be hiking up to like like the Vernal Falls Trail, which gets slippery as shit in the wintertime, and there will be people in vans. It's always hilarious to me. I'll get like pretty far out on a trail, or even like we'll go up to Badger Pass where it's like proper snow, and we'll do some snowshoeing, and you'll be like miles away from where you start, and sure enough there'll be some like Asics like trail like shoe pattern on the ground, and you're like, there's just people walking around here in like shoes they bought at like Shoes Direct, you know, or whatever, just these absolute throwaway shoes.
How far, like, from the trailhead are you on some of those trails? When you're seeing those, is it
miles.
Within a handful of miles? Like,
yeah,
like a couple miles or like 10 miles?
I don't think I've ever been like 10 miles, but still, like I've been like miles into the snow, and you're like, you're out here in fucking vans, like if nothing else, your feet are dying, you know, and if you encounter anything that's slippery, you can't do anything, and so I can't imagine it, but clearly plenty of people can imagine it because most of the people I will see next week will just be wearing regular shoes. Like it's amazing.
Your premise of it was this kind of the point is a good premise. Like if that was the YouTube video of like, yeah, my buddy's wearing boots and I'm wearing Crocs. Let's see how we do. And it's like a summertime hike on a long trail. Like I'll probably watch that. Sure, I get it, but if you and maybe they didn't pay attention to the weather. Maybe that's kind of what the problem ended up being. But if it's cold enough that your water bottle froze, you probably had an inkling it was going to be pretty chilly out, right? It wasn't like, oh man, it got down to like 39. It was like below 20 degrees.
I mean, I wonder if I'd be curious where the trailhead is. I mean, if the trail's at like 9,000 feet, okay, I guess I could sort of see like.
Yeah, but
or
8 a.m. when they started, it was probably pretty chilly.
Dude, it had to have been so cold. It had to have already been like frozen. So yeah, I don't know.
They're coming from Vegas, so maybe they're thinking it's always hot here, no matter where we are.
Absolutely hammered and high. I mean, I don't know.
That kind of makes the story better,
right? Like kind of, yeah. But I do want to touch on whether or not like media has a responsibility to lambast this sort of thing. I mean, we're at that stage now where you're supposed to celebrate everybody being outside no matter how they got there. Right. And like that's their experience.
That's kind of what they did, right? They sort of said, here's what you should have done in this kind of situation. These would have been the better decisions that, they could have made. This is where, you got to give it to our pal Shante Salabert, who loves the phrase cotton kills, whereas I'm always like, stop leading with fear. Like people, you don't.
Crocs kill.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of the example of like why a phrase like "cotton kills" makes sense, right? It's like, no, let me scare you into understanding what you should be doing in this situation, and it shouldn't be wearing the foam shoes with holes in it for a 16 miles hike through ice and snow.
I wonder if they had to have forgotten their boots, right? Like they had to be that they like drove up there from Vegas and they were like, oh crap, all I brought were my Crocs, which I was going to wear when we were done.
Now you're treading on something that I absolutely would have done too then, probably.
Because I've done that. I have done that kind of thing. Not
Yep.
like necessarily where I forgot the only pair of like boots I need to do what I'm going to do, but I've definitely gotten out to the backcountry before for like a solo camp trip and like, shit, I left my hiking boots at home. I guess I'll just have to wear these trail runners for everything I do. So
yeah, or your bike shoes or whatever, right? Just so many things. I forgot your helmet, and then you kind of have that moment.
I have gone to the beach without a surfboard more times than I would like to admit.
Well, let's take the right. It's like, where's my surfboard? I have my wetsuit. Where's my surfboard?
Shit. Or the no wetsuit. Like sometimes driving, I drove to Santa Cruz once without a wetsuit. I almost bought one there because it was like an hour and a half from San Francisco, and I'm like, how did I leave my wetsuit? Oh, I remember now. And yeah. But
you got if you play that out with that as the actual reason, it makes a ton of sense, frankly. Let's say you get there. Let's say maybe the trailhead's a little lower. It's not that cold out. Let's see how far we get.
Also,
I didn't
Crocs. Surf when I went to Santa Cruz without a wetsuit. I wasn't like, oh, fuck it, I'll just wear trunks. You know, I just didn't
sometimes
do
you just got to take the L and
go
drive home.
Yeah, sometimes you just go home.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see talk. I mean, it's okay. Also, I don't know why I'm deciding to be devil's advocate for these guys or people. I don't know the they're men or women, but like maybe it was bone dry. And like they were like, you know what, this will be fine. It'll be cold, but it'll be fine. And then it snowed. They're like, oh shit. I mean, maybe I don't know. It's the desert. It might not have been that wet.
I guess the way I think I would always run up against is you're going on a 16-mile hike at
that's gonna
nearly
suck no matter
12,000 feet. Yeah, there's going to be some burly stuff out. This isn't like a few miles. Like even the things you described. That's why I was asking how far they are from the trailhead. Like if it's like, oh, the falls are like, it's like a 4-mile hike, and you're close by the trail. Like you're not that far from people. Like okay, maybe worth the risk.
Well,
but just they
didn't call for help themselves.
No, they went halvesies with each other.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like 90% of the time, the story ends in like they call like search and rescue on their inReach or whatever, and like, but like,
come get me.
So obviously, they said they'd be home by 5. What does it say when they were rescued?
It doesn't. So just they summited it too.
So they must have been out after dark, and someone was like, it's pretty rad they got found. I mean, I'm always surprised that even works. Right? Like I guess they just know if you hiked up there. Obviously, they weren't lost, which is crucial.
No, I think there's a case we made that no matter what, though, there were just bad decisions being made. If they showed up and are like, oh crap, I forgot my boots. Well, we're like close to 10,000 feet. Guess we're not hiking today. Sorry, buddy. If they intended to go out in Crocs, you probably should have checked the weather forecast. Yeah,
they put their names up.
That's like true.
We can get their name. Let's get them on.
All right, we're gonna reach out to them.
We're gonna reach them on because I'd be curious. Because oh
my God, that's a great idea.
The only people that I feel like the only time you ever actually ask questions about like what's the proper role of outdoor media and something like this, we're just talking to each other, right? So like, if we were like actually okay, Croc, where like if the article came out and they were like, I cannot believe you did this. This is the dumbest shit in the world. Yeah, everybody should be able to go outside, but also don't be an idiot. Like, would that have worked on you? Like, if you read something about that before, because it's one thing for us to all talk to each other about it, but like. We're not really the target audience here, right? So the target audience is people that don't know any better. And like, I feel like we could do a better job of navigating that line between being welcoming, but also being like, but also here's what you need to know. This isn't like a game, right? Like this is like people can very often do die, whether it's you or someone trying to find you. Like it's totally cool that you want to like go out there and you haven't put much thought into it. That's fine. But like, don't do dumb shit because just don't do dumb shit. Watch any video.
It's bad for everybody.
Go on YouTube and watch videos of lifeguards telling people not to surf pipeline. Like that's the approach that we should take. Where they're like, there's so many videos of hilariously like pasty dudes with like rental surfboards, and in the background you can see like 8 to 10 foot pipe just bombing, and they're like, I think I'll try, and like the lifeguards are just laughing at them, but not letting them go out, but just like, what are you guys doing? Are you serious? Like you thought you got to be kidding me? And it's like they don't go out.
That's worse than almost everything because like if you're there, you obviously know what pipeline is to a certain degree, right?
I think you're overestimating people that are just like, oh, it's a cool surf spot. I mean, I feel like that's why when you paddle, that's why when I go to the beach and look at the waves, there's like half the time there's a million dudes at one peak because they're like, I don't know. That's where all the other surfers were. They don't know.
Wow.
Anyway.
All right. Well, last thing before we get to Jessica, a quick stop into Hausman's house.
I'm in my house. I'm already in my house.
Yeah, but what's the theme song? You got to do the theme song.
Ooh, gosh. I don't know.
You made a weird sound.
I did? Dang it. Yeah, I do.
Husband's house.
Husband's house.
You can come on in and have a cup of coffee. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You could. We have coffee. Welcome. Come on in.
Hey,
If you,
hey,
hey, that, you know what? If you're a
house.
Rock Fight listener, you want to come to my house and have coffee? Absolutely. Have a cup of coffee with you. I've had beers with Rock Fight listeners because some of them live in my little town. So it happens.
Right. See, there you go. If you end up there, Justin will have a beer. We could run a contest.
Mm-hmm.
This sets up our conversation with Jessica Turner very nicely. So last week on National Parks Traveler, you wrote about how the passage of the Explore Act will allow for more filming inside our national parks.
Yes.
So what's the history of that? Like what? And I mean, what's going on with filming in national parks?
Well, it's interesting that even you weren't really sure how this all works. Only reason I even knew about this, it was when we went to go film some gear reviews for Adventure Journal. We couldn't do it inside Joshua Tree National Park. I mean, obviously nobody would have physically stopped us necessarily, but Casimiro made it really clear, like, you know, we can't do this. And so he ran the National Geographic Gear Review program for a really long time, and they did like big gear review like stories where they send a bunch of athletes out places and stuff. So he had experience with that already, but I didn't know that.
Okay.
And so, but now I do. And basically, what I want to know is why. Some event had to have precipitated this, but in the year 2000, Congress passed a law that basically allowed the interior. It didn't like say commercial filming is illegal. It allowed the interior to require a permit for commercial filming of any kind in a national park. And so, at that point, though, the Department of Interior basically demanded that, like, so you need to have a permit. And so the rule has always been a little murky. Well, that's not true. It wasn't murky in 2000. It's murky now. So the idea was that you couldn't just show up with a bunch of cameras and film stuff, right? Like partially because they want to protect the resources. I think there's also partially has something to do with like if you're getting profit off of this, like we need to have some sort of, you know, I don't know if they wanted to cut a say. I'm not, you know, like that was an element of it too. But basically, that's the reason that, like, that's part of the reason that you don't see a lot of, we talked about this once, we talked about Wild, right? Like when they filmed
right.
Wild, like you don't recognize the landmarks because I doubt they're on the PCT very often. You know, they may have been, because I think I could be wrong. I think National Forest may also have a similar rule. But anyway, and so that's why you don't see a lot of like Hollywood stuff filmed in national parks. Like you can see like the Grand Teton in the distance and like Yellowstone and stuff, but they're not in the actual park most likely. I would doubt anyway. So, but anyway, but it's been real controversial once smartphones came out because it's like YouTube creators, anybody who could, like anybody who ostensibly is making money from anything they're creating, if you film a little video of your family on a phone and you post it to something, like, okay, is that okay? Is that considered commercial filming? You know, I've posted pictures that I took in Yosemite on Adventure Journal. Like that's a gray area, you know, like
right.
So and so a lot of like. What's interesting is that this comes on the heels of a lawsuit that was filed last week. Remember the guy that tried to set the FKT on the Grand Teton and got
he was cutting switchbacks. Yeah.
So two of the filmmakers that were with him that took photos of them there applied to photographers and filmmakers applied to get a permit and were denied, and they didn't get their money back for the permit application, which I guess you're supposed to get. It sounds like, and they were just like, we're just using phones. There's two of us. Like we're not bringing a bunch of complicated like camera gear out there, and so they actually filed a lawsuit trying to basically change that law. And it just I'm guessing they didn't know that the Explore Act had that part to the bill. So basically, but part of the Explore Act basically does away with the need to get that permit anymore. As long as you have fewer than like 6 people and it's not like a big production. So, you know, if it's a place where people can already go, you're fine. If it's a place where, if you want to record someone like kayaking on a river that's in a national park and that's something that people already do, that's fine. You can't like go base jumping and record it because that's still illegal. Like it doesn't like allow for activities that weren't already legal to happen. But the idea is that if it's a small scale thing, you don't need a permit anymore. If you want to record something on your phone or a digital, a nice digital camera and put it on your website, put it on YouTube, whatever. That's the new rule, which is great because I don't really understand the old rule other than and I made this joke before we started recording, but part of me does wonder. I mean, Jurassic Park was filmed on mostly Kauai. But I don't know if there's any national park land on Kauai itself. But I mean, like, if you were trying to film something big at a place like that, I mean, obviously you would need it's entirely possible that Hollywood studios just try to show up places with big camera lots, and they're like, no.
We think of the
And-
amount of westerns that were filmed in Utah and places like that,
Yeah.
like, like Monument Valley. I wonder if that's impacted.
It might. I mean, something happened, right? Congress doesn't like make a law without something like precipitating it. But I spent a couple hours this morning just Googling, like, what's the history? And I forget what the law number is called or the bill that was passed, but I can't find anything about it. But I'm sure there's a good story out there.
Yeah.
I mean, or maybe not, but anyway, but that's the rule, and it's awesome. It's great that you can now. It's been a thorn in the side for photographers and stuff for a really long time because it's just, and I don't know how they would have. The other thing is like, okay, how do you enforce that? Like Steve was like, look, we can't have a table with a bunch of gear on it because if like a ranger drives by, it's going to be clear what we're doing.
Yeah, right.
But like if you're just filming something of the Grand Canyon on your phone and then you put it turns out you're what's that YouTube guy that's like the hugest YouTube star in the world?
Beast.
Mr. Beast. If he's like filming himself at the Grand Canyon, no one's going to know what that is, So like a ranger's not going to come up and slap his phone out of his hand. He doesn't know.
Right.
But presumably if they see the content online, then they can come after you. And the fines were big. It was like not something you want to mess around with. So, great. Good job getting that in there. Like, I don't know who, and that was something I meant to ask Jessica. I wanted to ask about who, like, are there individuals that come in with like, hey, we need to add this to this? Like, who out there was like, what we need to do is address this filming in the national parks thing. Like somebody made that like their little pet project and I got it in there. But I think that's great. So feel free to go out there and record everything you want.
Well, let's use that. Let's get into our conversation with Jessica. I think because as she talks about, like, there's a lot in this bill, and I mean, and obviously it's become I don't know. There's been a lot of calls around the Explore Act within kind of the community. I think that, that I noticed on social media, a lot of outdoorsy folks, a lot of outdoor media members, things like that. So getting it passed was a big deal. You'll hear about the size of the bill and getting it passed unanimously and how that may have been an historic. So there's a lot of really good stuff.
I didn't realize until she mentioned that it's the first like purely outdoor recreation like act to ever pass.
Everything else has been tagged to something else.
Not tied to some other like whether it's public land spending or something like that, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. All right, let's get into that conversation. Hey, you outdoor retailers, listen up. You're sick of it, aren't you? Another sales rep walks in. They're showing off some flimsy, forgettable apparel line that looks like it was meant for a mall. The so-called outdoor brands churning out gear that won't make it past the doors of a Costco come Saturday. You need something else. You need gear built for granite and ice, for the steep and the cold. You need a brand that's stripped down and built up for real wilderness. You need Northwest Alpine. Back in 2010, Northwest Alpine set out to make the apparel that the big brands were forgetting. The others got caught up in fashion shows, but Northwest Alpine, they went back to the essentials. They make gear that's simple, light, strong, and made to last. Hey, and where do you think they make it? You know where it is? It's right here in the USA. If you're thinking, wait a minute, Northwest Alpine's Black Spider hoodie made with Polartec Power Grid is sewn up right here in the States? Yeah, you heard that right. And if you're tired of black, don't worry. They've got colors too. So here we are in a time when everything's uncertain. Costs are going up, tariffs are looming, and old bloated brands are hiking prices. Northwest Alpine's here with American-made gear ready to stock your shelves. Get in touch by sending an email to info@northwestalpine.com and set up a line showing today. Northwest Alpine, made here for all the right reasons. All right, well, Jessica Turner from the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable is back on the Rock Fight to talk with us about the Explore Act finally passing the Senate. And the rumor, Jess, is that this thing wasn't going to get done until word got out that you were coming on our show. And that's what finally made it happen. So you just want to talk about how we have, Washington, D.C. in the palm of our hand right now? I think that's what we should take away from all of this.
I think that's a great takeaway. I've never seen the power of outdoor recreation bigger and brighter and prouder than it was last week. I think in the midst of possibly a shutdown in the strangest way I've ever seen it. Okay. We, had a deal, then there wasn't a deal, that was wild. The last week of the Senate and House in before the holiday, when they shouldn't have even been in anymore, everyone wanted to go home. Lots of terrible things happening, lots of nothing happening. We passed a huge bill, 250 plus pages, huge, by unanimous consent in the Senate. And, a Senate staffer emailed me and said, you should look up the longest bill that's ever passed by unanimous consent in the Senate. And I was trying to find it. AI doesn't know, so then no one knows. But if anyone can find it, we might have just passed the longest bill ever by unanimous consent. Because usually unanimous consent bills are 2 pages. It's renaming the post office in Vermont. This is like a
Right.
real massive policy win, and it went down in the most epic nail biter fashion. So it was a Christmas miracle, a holiday, surprise, and I actually always thought it would happen, but I got to say, probably last Monday, a week ago today, was the first time I thought, well, maybe it won't happen. Probably all year. That was the first moment I was like, maybe this doesn't happen.
Well, that was about when we started hearing from Cody, who we work with, got to get you on the show, and it felt a little like, hey, we're not sure what's going to happen, but we want to have Jess come on, and of course it's like, hey, what are you going to do? What are you doing next week? I'm like, well, it's Christmas next week. Like, what? Did you guys know about that? But then obviously it all came together as a flurry. But I mean, just as a real quick to kind of just refresh our listeners' memories, what exactly is the Explore Act? Let's just do a quick refresher on what the Explore Act actually is.
So it's the first ever recreation package that has not only been passed, but has been created. So it's about 20 plus provisions that independently are bipartisan and bicameral. And there's a kid that's trying to go to bed that had 2 cookies.
It's
for
the holidays.
there.
It's fine.
So
It adds to the ambiance.
just for some holiday background noise for you all. And it does so many things. I think from our standpoint at Outdoor Recreation Roundtable, it has something for everyone. If you mountain bike, it builds long distance mountain bike trails. If you're a veteran, it's going to help you and your family, access the outdoors and find jobs in conservation in the outdoors. If you're disabled, it's going to help you realize where you can get outside and probably where the government can do better to help you get outside. If you live in urban areas, it's going to connect you to parks you've never been connected before. If you're on a reservation, it's going to allow you to get federal dollars for green spaces that you've never been able to access before. If you're a climber, it's going to ensure you can keep climbing in epic, backcountry places. And if you're a motorcycler or a snowmobiler, it's going to create great management plans for you. If you're a skier, it's going to help communities like Vail and Aspen lease Forest Service lands for housing in areas that really need, especially low income and affordable housing. And if you're an RVer, it's going to ensure that the campgrounds that you have access to are better equipped for modern RVs that have pullouts and that are bigger. If you like to backcountry hike, it's going to open up new ways for land managers to prioritize recreation. And if you get out paddling with guides and outfitters, or you fish or hunt with guides and outfitters, it's going to be sure that those guides and outfitters know ahead of time where they can have permits and make that process more streamlined. It's going to allow new guides and outfitters to access permits, which has been an issue. Guides and outfitters, especially in North Carolina, hit by Hurricane Helene, that need this flexibility to come back. It allows flexibility so you don't lose your permits if you don't use them all in one year, which is terrible for disaster-stricken areas where these, small businesses really need to keep their permits. But of course, they didn't use them. The forest was on fire. Or in this case, the river was not navigable. If you are into shooting sports, it creates safe shooting ranges, and especially BLM areas, so that you have a place that is safe and that is set aside for practicing target shooting. So that's just like 7 or 8 of the 20 things. Something the community should be so proud of, because it creates real policy change and modernization, and it impacts everyone. It's allowing you to use electronic park passes. If you're going, America the Beautiful passes becoming electronic, so you can, gosh, can you imagine, show your phone when you get to a national park or forest and actually pay what you're supposed to pay, then putting it in a Dropbox. But I think at the 30,000 foot level, it creates a new standard for us. It says outdoor recreation can move on its own. I always said we could. Everyone told me you have to be attached to an omnibus or a big public lands package or an energy package. And I said, no, we are $1.2 trillion. I do not need this bill attached to anything. We are going to show our might alone, and we don't need, all of these other communities that we've relied on. They're great partners. Let's keep working together, but we can pass our own bill. We don't have to wait until these huge packages come around every 5 or 10 years. And this is no cost to the taxpayer. So it's pretty cool. We can do all of this without, making your taxes go up.
Can you talk a little bit about how sort of differing groups, those who are concerned with like wilderness protection versus, or it doesn't have to necessarily be versus, but how you kind of get parties to the table to talk about I guess what I'm thinking of, you mentioned that there's going to be provisions in there for motorized like recreation,
Yep.
and which that's going to be a different community of people than there are that are very concerned about like wilderness legislation or something like that. Like,
Totally.
how do you how like I'm wondering, who puts these together? Who makes the suggestions for what should go in the Explore Act, and how
Yep.
do you kind of navigate that sort of different
Yeah.
camp?
And I mean, that's really the beauty, right? I mean, that's kind of, it was all strategic. Some of it was also luck, right? Like, we fell into bills that were the right place at the right time. I think, if you go back 10 years, there was a base bill. I was on a text chain. I don't know if you know Dan Nordstrom and, Rebecca Bear. There's this kind of people that have been in the community for a really long time. And we just started talking about permits being really hard to get for nonprofits in particular, but also groups like Notting Hill Outdoor Center, these awesome oars, big guides and outfitters that wanted to like change from kayaking to supboarding, like because that's where the community was going. That's where the market was going. They're like, okay, well, people aren't kayaking as much on this river, but they really want to supboard. And the Forest Service whoever saying, oh, well, you have to start over again, basically as if you're a new company, apply for a new permit. They're like, no, it's like the same amount of vessels on the water in the exact same place with the exact same impact on the water, right? What's the difference between a kayak and a sup on a river? And to go through that entire process again, is years. And so then they're not able to meet the market where it is. The market wanted to shift to sup boarding. So we all got together a decade ago at Outdoor Retailer, and we brought in the Wilderness Society, because they're an important partner to understanding, where we did want to say, hey, this is a nominal impact. Can we avoid some of the lengthy processes? And if you bring them in early on and they understand the problem, they're like, yeah, that is a nominal impact. We could support that in a wilderness area. Same with the climbing provision. We're already climbing in these wilderness areas. We have been for a long time. Why are we changing that now? They come in and say, okay, there's some validate, I see your point. Let's work on the language. So I think it's bringing those partners in early on to the pieces that, they could help craft, I think, with the recreation community. And then on the motorized side, there's enough in it for non-motorized that you got to get motorized there, right? Because they're half the battle, half the group, half of the members of Congress are looking to those folks. Half of, America is on, maybe a side-by-side or a motorcycle instead of a horse or a bike. And it doesn't change the impact to the non-motorized community. And I think that's what we've got to get used to, this making the pie bigger. If we're creating efficiencies, we're creating better processes, we're modernizing and updating systems, we're making land use more transparent, and we're giving land managers tools to manage better, then we're making the pie bigger. So your slice is not smaller because someone's on a motorcycle. Your slice is the exact same size, if not bigger, because we've made the process better. And we've actually gotten through to the agencies, I think, in the past couple of years, obviously, but through this bill, we're asking agencies to prioritize recreation, no matter what kind, over some of the other things that are out there, and really manage for it in all of the systems that they're looking at. And so when you're managing a piece of land for recreation, that's going to help everyone, because you're not managing it, just as complete multi-use anymore. You're not managing it without an eye towards recreation. The other, I think, piece of this is with better data, and I'm obsessed with data because I'm so bad at it, and I know nothing. I just have so much respect for people that do this for a living. But with better data, which is a huge portion of this bill, land managers can do a better job of saying, yes, this is not, the appropriate area for that, or, this is appropriate area for this. So let's move this here. And I think they can also tell, where things are overcrowded and may need a reservation system like we have now, or where things are crowded at the first mile, but once you go in over the mile because you're biking or you're hunting or you're fishing, it's not crowded. It's just that first mile off the trailhead and everyone's trying to see that waterfall or whatever. Well, why are we making everyone sign up for a reservation system, or everyone go through this, process where it's kind of excluding people? So let's use the data that's out there. I'm really excited about that piece because, again, I think better managed lands work better for everyone, and we don't have to have those trailhead conflicts as much.
So last time you came on the show, it was February. I couldn't believe how long it's been since.
Oh, wow.
I know, which was right after it passed the Explore Act passed the House. And at the time, it kind of felt like, okay, we got the momentum here. Like this thing's going to pass, I wouldn't say imminently, but probably pretty soon. What ended up taking so long?
Oh, man. So, the House was the biggest hurdle, I thought, because the House is difficult, and unanimous consent is the House. I mean, imagine the members of like Marjorie Taylor Greene is in the House of Representatives, like, I mean, and so is AOC, right? And so both of those people had to agree on this bill. And that was years in the making and a really difficult process. So when it passed the House, I was like, we're golden, because this bill originated in the Senate. It originated with staffers, amazing staffers, Brian Batiste at the time, and Scott James, and turning into John Tanner, and Sean Mullen on the Senate. They started piecing these pieces together, right, of all these bills, and we created this recreation package that kept getting bigger and broader, and I think more impactful. And so when it went to the House and passed, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. It just has to go back to the Senate, and now they have to pass it because the version, it changed a little bit. And then the staffers changed over. And, it's a re-education process. It's not bad and it's not wrong, but it does take time to, it's a very technical bill. If you read it, your eyes glaze over. It's not,
right.
It's not, it's not in layman's terms. It's a technical bill because it actually does things, right? We're doing things here. And so, there's a real learning curve, and they did an awesome job, and they made it even better. So now we've got an even better version in the Senate. Probably by midsummer, we had a perfect, what I would consider the gold standard version of this bill, because it'd been back and forth a couple of times. And then you've got senators that hold it up for their own parochial interests. And that's what we fell into in the past 4 or 5 months was, you get towards the end of a session, you get towards the end of you get towards a lame duck, you get towards the end of a, kind of contested Congress that hasn't done much, and a president. And you say, well, I'm not going to let you pass this thing unless you pass my bill, which is crazy because most people had something in our bill, which again was the point of it.
Right.
And yet we're still, so they were holding up their own bill to get another bill. And, that happens all the time. It's not
classic
unique.
DC.
It's so classic, but it's so painful when you have something this close to the finish line for this long, because every week it was like, well, maybe there's a breakthrough this week. We thought we were going to get it on the NDAA, which is this national defense bill that is a must pass. We didn't get it on that. Then this is the beautiful, hilarious part of the story. We thought we were going to get it on the CR, the continuing resolution. So 2 weeks ago, we were on the CR, basically. We thought we were in. I was feeling really good. And then all of a sudden we got word that it was too long kind of to attach to the CR because they wanted to keep it short. Well, then we found out the next day it's because Elon Musk was tweeting this is too long. And I thought about that night with a terrible pun is we dodged a bullet there because I'm thinking like, oh my God, like what if Elon, because it would have been about 300 pages longer with our bill, and they were mad it was 1,500, so it would have been like 1,800. What if he was like, why is there bikes and climbing and camping in this CR? Like we would have totally gotten called out and probably shot our chances at anything end of the year. And instead, when we found out we weren't on the CR, we went to I call it the nuclear plan. We had one left option. It was a nuclear option. No one thought it was possible, or I should say very few people thought it was possible. And we were about 2 days ahead of everyone else who lost their stuff on the CR. So it actually all happened in the most beautiful way. And I like to say the good guys won. Like we were, like someone was behind this. Like we got to get this through, because if we were on the CR, we would have been sunk. They cleaned the whole thing. They cleared all the stuff off of it. And all that stuff, a lot of good stuff never got through. And those were way bigger bills than ours with way more support. And we, so we dodged a bullet with that one. And then we got to go to this nuclear option.
Does the incoming administration have any power to like do away with any of this? I mean, obviously Congress passed it, so I would think not really. But I mean, I'm just wondering like how that works with a potentially, let's say, different sort of interpretation of what public lands are for coming into the White House. Like, what do we have to look forward to here?
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't think there's. It's in law, and a lot of things have timelines. Like the agencies must do X in the next year, or must do Y in the next 2 years or 5 years. So there's timelines for a reason. For smart people that have been through this a million times, you create timelines. And maybe it's not the number one priority, but the career staff are the ones that carry this kind of stuff out. So it's the career staff. It's your local Forest Service supervisor. It's your Park Service, superintendent. It's the people that have been doing this for a long time. And I do think there's going to be a bipartisan support, even with the new administration coming in because of the efficiencies on this. We're creating efficiencies so that things work better for businesses and visitors. And I don't know, if you're not behind that, I don't really know what you're behind. So hopefully this is something that, continues to be a priority.
Well, I guess last thing, and then we'll let you get back to your family and your holiday here. I think, it feels like the Outdoor Recreation Roundtable and the Explore Act are kind of synonymous at this point. Like, I think if I know anything about you guys, it's probably as an extension of your support of the Explore Act. So now that you've accomplished this, like, what's next? What do you guys, what's on the horizon for the ORR?
So this is crazy, but Explore Act is like 5% of probably what we do.
So it's just the most public thing that you've been doing.
It's just really public, and we've created, I think, a great coalition. And it needs sort of a central leader, but it's really small. Most of it at our end has like really been the education and kind of awareness and our relationships. But the rural development programs we run, Together Outdoors, Workforce, our state recreation offices that we're creating all across the country, the elevation of the economics, statistics all in all agencies, our work, I would say, our really, really deep work now going into health and mental and physical, and the connection to the outdoors, bringing CEOs together, to network and have conversations. All of that will continue and elevate. I think, we'll be tracking this. The implementation process is a real one. And just like Great American Outdoors Act, the big bill we worked on a couple of years ago, we follow that and you've got to follow it. So we're certainly not like patting ourselves in the back and walking away from this. This will be part of our, repertoire for a while, but we'll be doing all the other things that we do well, that we're excited about. And I think we're ready for the next recreation package. I mean, there's already things stacking up. Shred Act is still out there for the skiers, really important for the Forest Service and anyone who recreates on big forests. The BLM Concessionaire Authority, we'd love to get that done. So that's kind of stacking up. So we're already creating the next package. And I think the beauty of that is we can start asking for ideas. And, I'll leave you one anecdote because it was so cool. I got a bunch of calls from members of Congress after, and one of them said, I never really get thanked. Like, everyone's always on to the next ask, right? I mean, you're a member of Congress, you kind of get like, hey, I want this, I want this. They said, I've never been thanked as much for a bill as I have in the past 2 days from Explore Act. Like in their lifetime, this is a really prominent member of Congress. And I'm thinking that's what I want us to be known for. That's our community. We're so happy. We're so elated. We're so thrilled. I almost like, let's hold off on the asks for a little bit. Like, let's get our things done. Let's see how this works. Let's continue to work on GAOA reauthorization and funding and all of that. But we've got a lot to sit on. And we actually had another huge win that sort of got buried where the Economic Development Administration got reauthorized for the first time in 20 years. So it's huge. It's billions of dollars that sit in this agency within commerce. And we, for the first time, have recreation language in there. And as part of their definition, they need to look at recreation as an economic development tool, which opens up, again, billions of dollars for public works, for planning, for marketing, for workforce. So we've never even had access to the money before. And I mean, just thinking about that is like, that should be 5 people's full-time job, is how do we access this money for trails and for, workforce training programs and for marketing small communities that want to be marketed and for managing communities that don't want as many people, there anymore. And all of that is, it's just a whole new, I think, frontier for us. So that's the type of stuff I'm really excited about now that Explore's out, is sort of the nitty gritty that unlocks the money that's going to do all this.
Well, Justin, I want to pitch you at some point on the Outdoor Recreation Podcasters Act. I think there's we a lot of government money that could funnel into the rock fight. That'd be really good for the world.
Hey, we can talk about that in Explore 2.0. Hopefully just
Love
like
it.
2 short years away.
Thank you so much. Hope you have a great holiday. And let's have you back on soon in 2025.
Thank you. Thanks for all you do. Love listening to your show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.
It's time for a party shot.
All right, man.
It's
time for the party shot.
Is that from Jake as well? Or Chris?
No,
I'm sorry.
No,
is that from Chris?
That's a Karstad AI special.
It's so good.
All right, who's going first? You go.
Okay. All right. So, it's Christmas, folks, as we've alluded to a million times. So my parting shot today is Christmas oriented, and it's not specifically a parting shot. I'm not taking aim at anybody here necessarily, but I have a small house and I have 2 kids, and it is loaded with toys. Like everywhere that you go, there are toys. It's a constant battle. Basically my rule is if I pick it up and I haven't seen one of them using it for a long time, I throw it in the garbage. It goes right in the garbage, Colin. My wife has some bags where it's like, this is going to go to the daycare because they like to have used toys. That's fine. She never takes them though, so they're in the garage, and sometimes they go to the landfill. I'm sorry. I hate it. I don't like it either. I like that
you're whispering, like if she does hear this one day, like she won't be able to.
If she listens to it on the podcast and I'm whispering, she won't be able to hear it. That's how it works, Colin. She doesn't listen. She doesn't listen to every episode, but if she hears this one, she hears me whispering, she won't be able to hear it. Anyway, so, last couple weeks, I see presents. My wife and I have a lovely relationship, but we also don't really coordinate about a lot of things. And so now here's the presents are piling up under the tree. I'm like, I see my children's names on these. These are clearly presents that my wife has bought them. And I'm just like, I don't want to buy them more shit. Like, I'm the one that cleans up. I'm the one that gets mad. I'm the one that's like, you have too many stuffies. You have too many of these fucking toys. My, 3-year-old just would not stop clamoring for Paw Patrol toys 6 months ago. My wife found some on Poshmark, by the way. Used toys. Nice. We don't buy new toys. Always used. Poshmark is an amazing place to find kids stuff, by the way, including toys. My wife bought the full Paw Patrol action set on I found a backpack that my daughter hasn't worn in 2 months, stuffed with all of them. She didn't even know they were. She doesn't know she even has them anymore. She's 3,
Yeah.
So here's my parting shot. Ready? No more toys for Christmas. Here's what you do. You buy them food. You buy them candy. They're going to want it. It's already a holiday season. They don't care what's in them. They just want the present. They just want to unwrap something. And it dawned on me. I'm like, you know what? I could wrap a package of the Haribo gummy bears, and my 3-year-old's going to lose her goddamn mind. If I get her a little toy set where I have to explain it to her, she's going to be like, cool, whatever. But she's going to be so fired up on the gummies. So this year I haven't bought temporary tattoos is the only actual thing that's not food.
That's a cool
But
gift.
that's a consumable as well. So, they get temporary tats, they get some candy. My wife got them some books or whatever, some toys, and it's fine. But, you don't have to buy toys. You can buy, my parting shot is against the toy industry, generally speaking. I hate you. We all hate you. Nobody likes you. It's fun to go down the aisles of Target in the toy section and kind of have that wistful thing from when you were a kid and that made you super excited and you want your kids to be excited, but you don't want to buy them the things. You don't want to. Consumables for the kids, folks.
I love that. That's a really smart. I wish I had thought of that a long time ago. And we give them candy anyway. I just make it all candy.
Yeah.
Well, my parting shot is more about, I think we need to reapproach, a new approach to the holiday season. So look, before World War II and the economic post-war boom, the holidays were an authentic pause for people who truly believed in either the origins of the holiday or simply because life was just harder back then. There wasn't a holiday shopping season. Your dad just whittled you a wooden figurine every night.
And that's how it should be.
Right. That's how it was. And maybe you got some candy. But then around the time that we were growing up, you hit that kind of perfect intersection of those who remembered the holidays back then, but then you had this modern boom of consumerism, right? So Gen X kids were the same as prior generations in that only 2 days a year we got presents. Only on 2 days a year did we get presents. Those were our birthday and Christmas. We didn't get shit any other time of the year. That was it. So now today, it's just not that way anymore. It's just easier to get stuff. It's cheap to get stuff. Something getting delivered isn't special anymore. It happens almost every day. As such, the marketing behind the holiday season, I don't think really matches reality, right? There was a time when the holiday campaign from Coca-Cola, remember the polar bears and shit? That was cool. That got you kind of excited for the holidays. And now it's just overkill. So I came up with a solution to bring back the magic. This easy one.
Polar bears.
Yeah. The easy one would be to limit the length of the season. There's just too much economic might now, though, right? You can't cut back. At this point, we're hooked on the juice. So I say, let's embrace it and let it go longer. All right, think about when we first start to see the presence of fall and winter on store shelves. It's right after the 4th of July. You got a lot of people get excited about their August pumpkin spice lattes, while cynics like me complain that it's too early. I say let's just combo all of the events of the second half of the year and drop them all on July 15th. We put everything out for back to school, fall decor and beverages, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year's at the same time.
Like a buffet? Like a holiday buffet?
And we make it normal to sell the second half of the year for just 5.5 continuous months. Where we remove the event part of it, and then consumers can decide how to engage.
You know what?
Right?
It's not a bad idea, but I'm gonna make one very important change, and I'm gonna say all of that starts in November. and goes through March, because there's nothing more depressing than like January 6th. Or whatever, because you're just like, now it's now like the real winter setting in, and there's nothing to look forward to.
So it's like we go, instead of back to school through New Year's, we go Halloween through St. Patrick's Day.
Sure, and well, I just want it's just something else to look forward to in like once Christmas is over or once New Year's is over, because you're just like, what, February? Like all I know is it's dark and it's cold and I hate it. Like there's nothing like, but at least we have a week where everyone puts the weird shit on their house, and like we all do go to the party where you drink rose tea out of a whatever. I don't know. Like there needs to be more winter activities that make you want to live and not just curl up in a ball and wait for summertime.
It is funny how like Valentine's Day and something never really it can't get even close to like where like Halloween's gotten to. And you would think with the candy,
nobody's ever going to care about Valentine's Day. As a kid, it was kind of cool to get the Valentine cards or whatever, but like that's it. Like Halloween is I probably look forward to Halloween more than any other holiday.
Oh hell yeah, because it's weird.
Yeah, exactly. So let's have let's have you know what, we can have Christmas and let's have a proper like winter thing where maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's scary like Halloween. Maybe we sacrifice some people. Maybe that's what it's going to take.
Well, it's probably what we did for Easter before the Christians took it over. Sure. I would imagine, right?
Yeah. We sacrificed the slowest person in town.
Ate some hard-boiled eggs and cut people's heads off or whatever.
Absolutely.
Like, that's
fine. Yeah. Get into the real Scandinavian weird shit. Yeah.
I just think, but ultimately it comes down to like the cynics like me who do the thing of like, it's too early for this, and everybody else who's like, it's Christmas every day of the year, or it's Halloween every day of the year. Like let's just open up the floodgates and just have it be all normal, have it all the time.
I mean, you're not far from that being the reality.
It's true.
Like really, it's like,
but just the marketing of it and the TV ads just don't like. It's all like, the magic of the season. Like it's not like that anymore.
No, and it is lame that we all hate the commercialization, but we all still like do it.
Fuck yeah!
Like my kids don't even know. Like they don't know. Although that's not true. My 3-year-old walks in the other day. This is what she says. Comes in. She's supposed to be in bed. Comes out of her bedroom like she does every night with some sort of thing she has to say. Right. Walks out. Looks at our Christmas tree and looks at me and goes, "Dad, did you know there's not that much presents under the tree?" And it's only because she watches
you've already lost.
It's because she watches the movies and there's like 6 foot of presents under the tree, and I'm just like,
well, you're playing with fire, letting her watch that Elf on the Shelf cartoon. Let me tell you, that's coming next year. She finds out there can be an Elf on the Shelf in the house, like you're doomed. It's over.
That seems kind of fun, but that's probably every parent said until they started. I know.
I said it.
Yeah.
And within 3 days, I'm like, this was a bad idea.
I think there's a decent chance that come next Christmas, we're all living in an RV in Hawaii somewhere.
Oh shit! I'll come hang out with you. That sounds great.
Fuck it all.
Yeah.
Anyway, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
no,
everybody.
For real though, Merry Christmas. It's I'm sure wherever hopefully I hope that people are listening to this on Christmas. It'd be a good show to listen to on Christmas morning. You just got your hot chocolate with some bourbon in it or something like that. Just, finish opening the presents, about to turn on the worst football games of the season. Maybe you watch the Lakers get creamed by like the Raptors or some stupid NBA game is on.
Patrick Mahomes pull another game out of his ass.
Yeah. And listen to a little rock fight goodness.
All right, the Rock Fight's a production of Rock Fight LLC. For Justin Hausman, I'm Colin Truth. Thanks for listening. Have a happy and Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and all that good stuff. And he's out celebrating Christmas somewhere. It's Krista Makes. He's singing a song. He's probably singing Christmas songs, I'd imagine. Or maybe he's sitting there singing the Rock Fight song, because he's going to sing that for us right now. And we'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock Fight, Rock Fight, Rock Fight, Rock Fight, Rock Fight, Rock Fight. Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. We talk about human-powered outdoor activities and pick fights about topics that we find interesting, like pop culture.